Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the fifth webinar of the Sellercloud Delta series. My name is Jeff Lynn, and I'm here with my fellow account executive, Gary Basco. Gary will be walking us through the process of adding new products, creating intelligent pick lists, and shipping with Skublox and Shipbridge today. Feel free to ask any questions through the Q&A feature, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. And with that, let's explore Sellercloud's suite of tools to make your warehouse processes more efficient with Gary.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? It's a pleasure to have you on board. Running through this fun featurette on how to actually maximize your warehouse potential inside of Sellercloud. We do have a bunch of stuff on the agenda for today, talking about how to add new products into the warehouse, building, setting up warehouses, and creating intelligent pick lists. And we're also going to be showcasing some of the other products that we have inside of the Sellercloud suite, like Skustack, our WMS. We're also going to be showing off the new 40 scale, as you can see over here to my right behind me, for capturing weights and dimensions to make it easier for when you're actually dealing with shipping. But without further ado, let's jump into the actual presentation. I'll start sharing my screen. Now, inside of Sellercloud, when you're dealing with inventory, there's a number of different ways that you're going to be able to start getting the products and getting your products set up into the various different warehouses that you have inside of the warehouse network where you're tracking inventory. Now, the first thing when you're setting up products or when you're getting new inventory into the actual warehouses is to add the products into the system. So as for a first step, when you're getting new SKUs into Sellercloud, we'll come over to our catalog module, and you'll be able to see over here that there's an add new products page that you can go to. Whether you're pulling in products directly from the marketplaces in case you wanted to go ahead and piggyback off of certain listings and you guys are primarily a reseller, or you're building products individually, importing SKUs in bulk with product information, it's very easy to get new SKUs into the Sellercloud system so that you can begin starting tracking your inventory and managing your picking and your fulfillment processes. Now, after the SKUs are in the system, so that we can track where the inventory is located, we're going to be able to start setting up various warehouses inside of the warehouse network in Sellercloud. You can manage and build warehouses in Sellercloud under the inventory module in the warehouses section by clicking on the Manage Warehouses page. To add brand new warehouses into Sellercloud, you click the green plus icon, and this will bring you over to where you can start adding in and building out your new warehouses. Start by setting up a warehouse name, and then select what type of warehouse that you're going to be setting it up. There's four main different types of warehouses when we're dealing with warehouses inside of Sellercloud to make it easier to understand what inventory you have and who's actually managing that inventory. You'll have your normal warehouses or your owned warehouses. These are the warehouses that you own and operate, where you employ staff to actually manage the fulfillment process. We also manage your 3PL or your fulfillment centers, things like FBA or WFS warehouses in Sellercloud, so that you can go ahead and manage those digital warehouses when you have other companies that are actually dealing with the picking, the packing, and the end fulfillment for your customers. You also have the ability to set up something called a vendor warehouse in the system. So if you wanted to automate drop shipping in Sellercloud, maybe you don't care too much about the whole WMS side of things, and you have other vendors actually fulfill for your orders. We also have vendor warehouses that you're able to set up in the system, so you can track and be able to use that available quantity from your vendors to show to the marketplaces. Now, these different types of warehouses inside of the system have two different subcategories that you'll be able to set up. You can have sellable warehouses or non-sellable warehouses in case you do want to have warehouses for tracking physical inventory that you're not using to put to the marketplaces. Some great examples of, say, the non-sellable warehouses that you'll be able to set up in Sellercloud are things like returns, damaged warehouses, or removal warehouses for when you get inventory sent back to you from, say, your FBA, so that you can inspect it, prep it, and get it back out into circulation. Now, there are a number of different levels of warehouses or warehouse locations, I would say, when you're dealing with Sellercloud, and then when you also add on the WMS, that is Skustack. Natively inside of Sellercloud, we are tracking the warehouse location in the sense of how much inventory you have in which of the warehouses in your network. This is very important in case you use Sellercloud for the different order routing rules that we have in Sellercloud. You can look up more on our rules engine in a previous webinar that we did. Now, when you add on, say, Skustack, you're going to be adding additional layers into the warehouse. So not only do I know what warehouse my inventory is, but I can see the bin location, the geolocation on where that inventory is actually located. In between the warehouse, though, and the bin, Sellercloud has something called a region. Now, what I'm showing off here, by the way, is a product called Skustack Lens. Skustack Lens is a fantastic tool to be able to give you a top-down visualization of your warehouses and everything inside of your warehouse network. Skustack Lens, by the way, is an included product with your Skustack subscription. This is where you'll be able to view your warehouses, go into the warehouse regions, and then from the regions, see the shelves and the bin locations where you actually have your products located so that you can track how much inventory is available for those SKUs and who's been moving those products in and out of those bins. Now, I showed you how to set up warehouses. To go ahead and start setting up bin locations, you can either set up bins inside of Sellercloud. You can also manage and add new bins out of your Skustack website. Or if you want, if you're right on the warehouse floor, you have the ability to actually manage and build bins inside of your Skustack device. I actually have some bins over here that I built and set up for a couple of the different parts of the presentation that we'll be going over. But if I wanted to go ahead and build a brand new bin inside of Sellercloud, I could go ahead and name my bin. I can generate a bin label. I actually have my handy dandy mobile label printer. Let's hope that the Bluetooth is still connected on this guy. I can print out a bin label. And now I'm ready to go to label my bin and have a pickable, receivable location inside of my warehouse. Now, so that I can track the bins and aggregate them together in regions, I can go into my new bin. Big benefit about all of the connections between Sellercloud, Skustack, and the devices, everything will show up inside of the system that's being created in any of the other parts of the system. So here we have the bin that I created. And now if we wanted to, we can go ahead and set this and assign this to a warehouse and assign this to a warehouse region. Now, when we're ready to start adding products into the bin, we can come into the bin and simply start scanning new SKUs. And then scanning the quantity that we want to add in to the bin. For our customers who don't use scanners, if you do like the scanning feature, you can set up different rules inside of the system for what needs to and when different scans need to happen. So if you don't have labels on your products, don't worry about that. A lot of this stuff can be done just by tapping on it. And we also have the ability to work with a phone camera for actually scanning the labels. We'll go ahead and we'll toss this in our bin now. And just to show you so that we can go ahead and make it easier to know where this inventory is located on a regional level, we can go into our Skustack Lens, which can be accessed right through the actual Sellercloud or Skustack portal. And now view exactly what bins, new bins that we have inside of that region. And then from there, view the inventory that's now located inside of these different bins. Here's the bin that I actually just built, A3B. And there you can see I added 10 units. Now that you have the warehouse planned out and set up, you know what SKUs you have, you know how much inventory you have, and you know where they're located inside of the warehouse. It's now time to manage the orders side of things, where we're going to be picking, packing, and prepping these orders for our different customers. Now I'm going to start by building an order in the system. So I'm just going to build a quick wholesale order inside of the system. We'll go ahead and we'll send me some Sellercloud swag. We're going to start adding in our bamboo pen. We'll say, let's add in 3 of these units. Now I have an order ready to go that's inside of the system to be picked. Now, so that we can communicate what needs to be picked and how it needs to be picked inside of Sellercloud to the actual Skustack device, inside of the Manage Orders page, whether you're using the Manage Orders page inside of Sellercloud, or if you're the warehouse manager, you also have a Manage Orders page inside of the Skustack side of things, where you'll be able to use these custom filters to go ahead and aggregate order information in whatever way that you want to make it easier and most efficient for picking. You can filter for things like SKUs. You can filter by channel if you want. You can also filter for your orders based on regions if you want to make sure that your team are picking based on the orders that are located in certain regions. If you have a 100,000 square foot warehouse, you may not want Jeff over here to go ahead and pick throughout that entire warehouse. We're going to just send him over to the Southwest quadrant, and any products that need to be picked from there will appear on his pick list for him to be able to pick and then bring over to the greater sorting stations, where we'll then go ahead and finish the prepping, packing, and then shipping for the orders. Now we'll pull up my order in the system real quick. We'll generate a pick list. Now, what I just did was manually build a pick list in Sellercloud. You have the option, if you want to come in here and assign these pick lists and manually update and send these pick lists out. That's totally up to you if you prefer that methodology in there. However, inside of Sellercloud, one of the best parts about these different default filters and custom filters is you have the ability to generate something called a saved view in the system. Now, these saved views are what you're going to be able to utilize inside of our scheduled tasks to generate pick lists based on the ways that you want to, create those picking waves, and have those pick lists automatically be created based on whatever frequency that you want to have that set up in the system. Back when I first started with Sellercloud, I actually built out a pick list. I do help out shipping some of the orders, from our own warehouse. So if you ever got a scanner late, I want to apologize. But nice and simple. I've got a pick list over here that generates every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to let me know the orders that need to be shipped out of our warehouse. And again, this is something you'll be able to set up, and you can set up multiple different scheduled tasks depending on when or how you want these different reports or pick lists to be ran. Now, the one nice thing about having the pick lists in the system is that there is a manage pick list page right in Sellercloud, and it does give you the ability to manage and see the picking progress right in there for all of these different pick lists that you have assigned to your different warehouse teams. The other cool part about these pick lists, and if you're utilizing Skustack, if you're dealing with the scans, we offer employee performance tracking reports and everything like that, so you can watch and see how fast your team members are picking, packing, sorting, and shipping these different orders right through the Skustack Lens application. But now that I've got my pick list, we can go ahead and we can go into Skustack and we can start picking our orders. Now, when you're viewing Skustack and you're managing the picking, there are a few different ways that you can do picking. You have product-based picking, order-based picking, kit-based picking. You also have the pick to light system as well. If you're doing vendor central, you can do and actually manage vendor central picking as well, right from the order picking side of things. So if you do wholesale to FBA, feel free to utilize the tools that we have in Sellercloud and Skustack. Now, product-based picking is known as waved-based picking. This is where I'm being order agnostic. I don't care about what order. I just care about all the products that I need to pick for all of the orders that need to ship out into the day. For product-based picking, this is usually where you'll come into, say, one of the related products that we have, Skew Blocks, which we'll be talking a little bit about today, where you'll be taking these products that you've picked into the larger picking bin, bringing them over to your sorting station, and as you are scanning products out of the picking bin, lights will be popping up associated with orders, letting you know which slot that the products need to go into. Once the order has fully been sorted, there is a shipping light that will pop up on the other side, letting you know that that order has been fully sorted and is ready to go out for shipping. Now, if you don't want to, say, deal with the sorting after everything's been picked, we also have something called order-based picking. Order-based picking is either used if you want to sort while picking, or you want to say pick for a individual order. This is very good for, say, those wholesale orders and things like that you might be managing, where instead of, say, 100 orders that have 100 units, you have one order that actually has 1,000 products that all need to go into different pallets and things like that. You can choose to do order-based picking. Now, when you go and look at the pick lists inside of the system, the pick lists themselves not only tell you what needs to be picked, but will also give you a bin location where to pick from. You can choose to set primary bin locations. Skustack has the ability to track lot expiration dates and serial information. So if you want or you need help with picking, say, FIFO purposes, and you are tracking those lot expiration dates inside of the system, you'll be able to go ahead and actually pick and get suggested bins to pick based on FIFO. Now, if you have, say, a product that is in multiple bin locations, the same SKU, it will still let them know, and you'll still be able to, say, search and see any additional bins that these products might be in case the event of, like, I go to the bin A, but bin A1A actually doesn't have any inventory in it. So my next closest one that's suggested would be bin A1B instead. Now, the other nice part about when you're actually picking at the time you're picking, if for some reason there is missing inventory or there's more inventory inside of a bin, you can actually make adjustments at the time that you're picking so that you can make sure that you have accurate inventory counts and levels on the bin level instead of having to worry about, say, doing a full cycle account across your own warehouse. Now, we'll go over to the bin. We can select the product that we're going to be scanning from. We can pull our product out of the bin, and we can start scanning the SKUs, verifying what we're actually picking the products from the bin, and then updating the pick list in the order that it's been picked and now is ready to ship. Now that the product is ready, or the order has been fully picked and it's ready to ship, we can go into our Skublox application. Unfortunately, I do not have the Skublox wall set up, but I can show you the Skublox application, wherein you'll be able to go ahead and now select the different picking walls that you want to be picking to and start scanning the products so that the lights will be popping up, and you'll be able to start scanning the various lights to verify that the actual products have been set up and sent into the correct box. Afterwards, you'll be able to scan those LPNs that are generated for that fully sorted order to go ahead and manage the actual shipping side of things. Now, speaking of shipping, Sellercloud does help with the shipping side of things as well, where we're going to offer a shipping application called Shipbridge. Now, one of the big features inside of Shipbridge is our scan and ship tools. Scan and ship is going to enable you to go ahead and scan products, find related orders from those SKUs, and then automatically generate shipping labels. When you're utilizing Shipbridge along with Skew Blocks, we can actually set it up where after the order has been sorted, a shipping label can be generated after that LPN number has been scanned, where you don't even have to go into Shipbridge to scan anything or click and ship and print a label. You can simply go ahead and scan the block, and it will then go ahead and print out that shipping label. Now, this brings us into a great example on how we can go ahead and utilize all of these tools together to make it as efficient as possible to manage our picking and our shipping processes. So two of the main ways that our companies like to go ahead and generate the picking waves are the differences between single item orders and multi-item orders. Single item orders are nice and simple. Single item orders, one product, one person. It doesn't matter if my large size 13 black Levi shoe is going to Jen in Kentucky or Tim in Louisiana. It's the same size shoe. It's the same product. We can go ahead and scan a barcode related to that SKU, find an order associated with that SKU, calculate the rates inside of Sellercloud for the cheapest rates to ship by the fulfill by date, and then generate a shipping label for that product so that it can go ahead and go out the door. Again, not needing to worry about whether that large black shoe is going to Jen in Kentucky or Tim in Louisiana. It's the same product. We just need to ship it out the warehouse. Now, for your multi-item orders, that's where Skublox can come into play, where you can have the sorting wall system help your team with verifying and sorting. Or Shipbridge also has a feature for helping your team with sorting as well. So what we'll do is we'll go into the order that I built for me. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on our scan and ship. Now I have multiple items inside of here. So what's going to prompt me inside of the system is to now pull up that order and actually scan the product codes or SKUs or UPCs, whatever we have on there, to verify the products that are going into the box first. And then from there, we have the ability to capture shipping weights and shipping dimensions directly into our Shipbridge application. Now, with Shipbridge, and as I mentioned before, we did want to show you guys our new tool. It's our 4D scale. This scale here does capture weights and dimensions of an order and imports them directly into Shipbridge so that we can go ahead and we can manage those shipping weights and those shipping dimensions. So as an example, I did grab a box. We'll throw it on our scale. I've got my shipping weights and my shipping dimensions. I'm not sure if you can see them on the screen, but over here on our screen, if I click the scan package barcode, I apologize. Where is our, there we go, read. It's going to pull in the weights and the dimensions from the actual scale that's inside of the system. If I don't think I actually have it set up. One second. Oh, I need an update on my system. Sorry about that, guys. Well, if I click the read button and I had my Shipbridge software updated properly, we would be able to pull in the weights and the dimensions of that box and actually generate the shipping label now for those weights and the dimensions. Now, the other nice part about, say, using the scan and ship tool as well for these, if I had multiple different products or multiple different boxes for this, maybe I could only fit 5 in a single box in there. It's not a problem. I can go ahead and I can generate and edit additional package IDs inside of the system and then grab the weights and the dimensions for those various packages based on how and what SKUs I have going into each box. Now, the 4D scale, by the way, isn't just for outgoing orders. It's also for inbound as well. So this, and I made sure to make sure that this was connected last time. Apologize about that there, guys, for the technical difficulties. We'll go into Skustack real quick, and we're going to pull up one of our products. Now, I need to get weights and dimensions, and I need to most of the time save these different weights and these different dimensions. Oh, this is picklists. So that I can have them later on for either automatically calculating the weights and the dimensions for, say, the single item orders, if I ship them in the box that they're manufactured in. I know Amazon does that a lot of times now, where you just ship it right in the box that it was already set, ready to go out. Or if you need, say, this for FBA purposes, I need the shipping weights and the shipping dimensions saved in my system for the different case or the pack quantities that I have. Sellercloud inside of Skustack has the ability to pull in those weights and the dimensions by clicking on the pull from 4D scale, and it'll actually import the different weights and the dimensions directly into the system. You could save the weights and the dimensions inside of the Sellercloud system right from the 4D scale after pulling them in. Now, to help also with inside of the warehouses, bins themselves, just like warehouses, can be both sellable and non-sellable. So if you didn't want to have a whole separate warehouse and worry about dealing with warehouse to warehouse transfers, when you're dealing with orders that are going out, so we'll ship this order real quick to our customer. But we can also help you with, say, managing the whole returns workflow inside of the system when you're dealing with your Sellercloud warehouses. So with returns from the marketplaces, we also do this with removals as well. The bins that you can set up and you can build inside of Sellercloud, not just for picking as primary picking bins, you can set them up for receiving bins as well. So if you wanted to create, say, a return for this product, or if a return came into the system and you wanted to receive this return, I didn't ship this, did I? I'm in a different order, that's why. You can generate and set up different return bins inside of the system so that you can go ahead and receive products in, have an audit of what you're receiving in for those various returns, and then be able to inspect and move this inventory back into your circulation, whether you're going to be grading it and doing SKU to SKU transfers, or maybe you're receiving in an FBA removal, and then you're going to be reprepping those products to go ahead and get those out the door again. Now, as you can see inside of Skustack, when you're managing the warehouses, we went over picking for, say, your product-based picking, your order-based picking. Now, one of the other nice things and one of the new features that we recently added into Skustack to make it easier for picking and for shipping, especially when you're dealing with, say, wholesale customers, is we did just recently add in the ability to manage and actually build full pallets inside of the Sellercloud system. So if you guys are now managing and trying to track pallets, or you guys are receiving pallets, the pallet options are now fully available for all of our Sellercloud customers, and they are on the latest version and update of Skustack in case you wanted to manage and build pallets. Now, managing and building pallets inside of the Sellercloud system is very simple and very easy. We're going to start with a reference ID. This is going to be that pallet SKU that when we scan it, we're going to know the cases and the products that are actually inside of that pallet. Now, the nice thing about building pallets in Sellercloud, if I have bins already in the system, which previously most of our customers were utilizing the bin tool as a way to track their pallets, you can actually select all the contents from a bin, essentially converting a bin into a pallet so that now you can take that entire bin and ship it to a customer. If, say, there's a wholesale order where you're shipping a pallet, or maybe you prefer building bins first, scanning products in there, and then converting that bin into a pallet. So you have a little bit more flexibility in what is going in and out of the bin during that process. Now, if you wanted to build a brand new pallet, however, we also give you the ability to go ahead and start scanning items into the pallet to build the pallets inside of Sellercloud. Simply scan the product SKU and start scanning the quantities that you want to add into the pallets. You can add multiple products in there as well. And then once you're ready, you can go ahead and you can print out the pallet label. And have a single label ready to go ahead and move, ship out, and verify that pallet. The nice thing about the pallets as well that you have inside of Sellercloud is we have the ability to send and generate, say, a shipping manifestation. So if you want to send these pallet labels as well to, say, your wholesale customers along with the order, you can generate those. They'll be able to receive the pallets using the same pallet IDs that you're building inside of Sellercloud. Now, the nice thing about the pallets is you can, very similar to a bin, work it like a bin in case you wanted to, say, open up a pallet and pull products from it just like you can. This is very important for when we have customers who, say, use pallets as an overstock side of things for managing, say, your primary picking bins and then restocking your bins. So if you have, say, pallets that you want to break up or open, that's not a problem. You'll still be able to manage that and edit the content in the pallets, and it'll be relayed back into that pallet ID that you have set up, that reference number. Now, speaking of working with pallets and the overstock side of things, Sellercloud makes it easy to restock and make sure that you have, say, your primary picking areas constantly with inventory for your warehouse team to pick from. This is a very common way a lot of our customers who say maybe not track lot expiration dates or serial numbers in the system, but they still want some form of FIFO. Whereas we will have a primary picking area for you where your team, when they're actually picking and packing, we will give them those suggested bins and those locations for picking purposes. And as inventory starts running low, you'll be able to generate a restocking bin report, which will let you know the different bins or the pallets that you'll be pulling from to go ahead and put new inventory into those primary picking areas so you can continue the fulfillment queue. Now, after everything has been picked or everything has been put back into the bins, obviously you're going to want to make sure that these bins themselves are constantly being updated with any adjustments in case things are damaged, lost, or were unaccounted for during a certain movement in the system. Bin cycle counts are able to be generated not just based on inventory movements going out, similar to how the restocking reports are going to be, but also products going in. So as there are X number of movements in or out of the bin, a bin will be added into a queue to be able to count inside of the bin cycle report. This way, instead of having to count a whole warehouse and stopping your entire operation, you can simply generate the bin reports that you need for those bins that have the most movement and make sure that you're maintaining the integrity on your inventory in those bins using our bin cycle counting tool. Now, that's the bulk of what we have for the presentation today on how you're going to be able to, say, manage, set up your warehouses, some of the very common workflows that our customers are using, and the different tools that they have available inside of the Skustack application. We are going to now move over into the Q&A section. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to add them into the chat. I am going to use Jeff as a little bit of a proxy today, so he's going to be asking the questions on behalf of all the customers on our webinar today.
Great, thanks, Gary. So we had a few questions that came in during the presentation, so I'll just start from the beginning. So one of the first questions we received was regarding the Skustack lens, and the question is, can non-admin accounts use it?
Non-admin accounts on Skustack lens? Yes, non-admin accounts can still use and view Skustack lens. If you're on the floor, say using the scanners and picking, that's where you would need to say have that ability, for like a actual active user on there. But yeah, non-admin accounts, and you can, if you have Skustack already set up, by the way, try going over here. Skustack lens is something, once we enable Skustack on there, you'll be able to access. You can go right into it right from Sellercloud as well. So this is Sellercloud, this is Skustack, this is Skustack lens. This is where you can get into your Skublox hub. So we make it very easy to navigate in between the different applications that are all connected into the greater ecosystem.
Okay, so the second question we have is, can we check the value of the items in bins on a report level, such as summary and detail?
Oh, like an inventory valuation report. We do have reports on there on a warehouse level. I'm not sure if we have a report that would show it on a bin level. Let's see, warehouse detail. And I know it would be in Sellercloud because, let's check.
Yeah, we have limited report options for Skustack.
Yeah, so we have the SKU level, the quantity, and we have the valuation reports for the dollar amount in the warehouse. I don't know if we have it for bins, unfortunately. You do have the ability, though, to say, I want to report and I want to export, say, all of the information, the bin information out of the system. Let's see, is it customize? That's actually Jeff, write that one down because we might want to add that in there. Yeah. So what I'd like to see is if we can add it as a custom column so that you could see the dollar amount of the value of what you have inside of the bin. So I don't think we have something to do the report on the bin level. If you needed to, you could export this information and obviously run, a custom report to give you a summary. If you wanted to connect it into an FTP server, that export or something like that. But I don't think there's anything in there right now, but I do like the idea.
Okay, great. So I jotted that down. So the next question is, how can we pick items but not for an order? For example, we just want to review, for whatever reason, 100 different items. Currently, they're using kit assembly work orders and inventory
Oh,
pull, but it only
yeah.
works in alpha.
Inventory pull. Well, you can do inventory pull, right? It's a work order inside of Skustack, actually, that you'd be able to do an inventory pull for. So I'm not sure why inventory pull is not working for you inside of Skustack, but this is where we would normally be setting up that inventory pull. It's a work order that would be inside of Skustack so that the inventory pull itself you'd be able to find inside of the work orders over here. So like we'll do test. Please provide a valid work order expected completion date. Oh, okay. I can't have it done before the time on the computer. Okay. So we'll say today, we'll add this in there. We'll just go ahead and we'll pull some chocolate. I know we got Valentine's Day coming up. We also have a ton of chocolate over at the Sellercloud warehouse right now. I hope everybody that was on the call did receive their user conference invitation. Oh, that's why. Come on. But this is where we would basically be looking up and viewing those different work orders, those inventory pulls and stuff like that. So I'm hoping this answers your question, but Skustack is where you would be utilizing that and generating that work order.
Okay, the next question is regarding Shipbridge and within Scan and Ship. It's more of a comment. The comment is, it would be amazing if we could scan the serial number of our SKU when we ship and not have to open the order and save it in there. He also wants to mention that the SKUs are not serialized in Sellercloud, but for some channels we have to scan them in and we have them available on a barcode when we ship.
Okay, well, I mean, you don't have to have a serial ID inside of Sellercloud. We can capture a serial ID at the time that the order itself is going out. And Scan and Ship, like I mentioned, has two different ways that you can utilize Scan and Ship. I mean, you don't have to go into the order itself. What would happen is if I'm using Scan and Ship and I have, say, single items in my order queue that I'm going to be picking for, and I'd say it's like one iPhone 15 that's going out, and all I need to capture is that IMEI. When I scan that iPhone 15, very similar to a multi-item order. I don't think this is not a single. This is a it should still work. So this single item itself here, if I wanted to, I would be able to scan that product, but it would require me after I've scanned the SKU to scan the serial so I would associate it with the order. But the serial ID never has to be in Sellercloud. You can add that at the time that the order is shipping out, if that's the case that you want to do it and you don't have to import it into Sellercloud ahead of time. But you shouldn't have to say like look up the order in Shipbridge if you're using Scan and Ship. That's one of the big features of Scan and Ship. It finds the order for the SKUs that you're actually scanning in there instead. So I might want to maybe talk to your rep if you have like an implementation rep still you're working with, or your account manager, and they'll be able to go a little bit more in depth on how to actually set that up.
Okay, so the next question is, can you print a physical pallet manifest to include in the shipment with quantities and UPCs?
For like you're talking about like if I wanted to print out for the order itself, like when I'm shipping the order, like at the time I'm printing out the label.
It seems to be that way, yes.
I'd have to see if it's something that can be done through Shipbridge. Can it be printed? Yes. Or could it be like so if I wanted to, it's kind of like printing out a packing slip, you know. I can go ahead and I can print out a packing slip for an order and I can include that in there so that it knows exactly what was in that order when my customer opens that box. I mean, it'd be basically just the same thing as printing out like a packing slip for that specific pallet. So I'm pretty sure we'd be able to do it. The pallets, however, are a very new feature to Sellercloud. So I would rather confirm that before giving you 100% yes, but we have your name and email address. I'll definitely get back to you on that because I'd like to know too.
Okay, perfect. Next question is, do you build a pallet for a specific order and then just scan the pallet ID for the scan and ship function in Shipbridge?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if you want to build the pallet for the order, or a lot of times you'll pick the order itself and then you'll build the pallet, so you have everything in there, and then the order ID can be associated with the pallet itself. But that's up to you which way you want to do it. If I have the pallet already pre-built and I'm picking the pallet for the order, I'd scan the pallet ID and then it would verify all of the SKUs in the pallet that my customer had ordered from me. Because when I get that order from the customer, it doesn't have a pallet on there. I build the pallet to the order. So I can either pick all of the products as like and bring them like into a picking bin, like I'd be picking for, regular orders, and then build the pallet almost like I'm doing like an FBA inbound shipment or something. I pick all the products and then I start prepping. I'll scan the products into the cases. I scan those cases onto the pallet and then I print out the pallet label. Or if you already have pallets already existing and you have those reference IDs, when you go to pick the order, if you scan that pallet ID, it'll pick all of the products on the pick list for that order that are in the pallet.
Okay, so the next question is, can we start slow with bin locations where perhaps 25 to 50% of products have an unknown or generic location first and then are assigned to a known location later?
Yeah, the way I would actually go about that, by the way, that's a great question, is setting it up on a regional level. So you can have regions in the warehouses where you'll set up the bins, and then you can have a whole separate region that does not have any bin locations. So like I mentioned, what I would recommend is setting up like different regions for it. So I would say, okay, what we would do is we would have a region where we would have the bin locations all set up and ready to go. And then we would have a separate region where we didn't have bin locations. They could be pretty much anywhere inside of that region, but at least we know that, hey, this southwest quadrant of the area does not have any bin locations. It's just all almost its own one large bin. So there's a couple different options or ways that you can go around that. I would just simply set up it at a regional side of things and then go region by region as you're adding the bins into the system. Can we add any comments while placing items on bins? For example, there is a return and I would like to add a comment for a particular return. Yeah, and you can actually do that in the Skustack app. Unfortunately, I don't have the Skustack app to show you guys right now with my laptop being dead. But yeah, you can actually also scan and take pictures of items of the return. So if you wanted to, at the time you're receiving the return in from the RMA, you can scan the RMA and then take a photo of it and then add comments. There's reasons, resolutions, and descriptions as well that you can set up. So if you have, say, like preset reasons why that, a certain product would be in what condition or why this return would be in, you can have that already in there, and then they can add whatever descriptions of the return at the time that they're receiving it in Skustack. If you're doing it in Sellercloud, though, on the return side of things, you can also add whatever notes that you want on the return. And you can pretty much add notes anywhere in Sellercloud on an order level, on a return level. It's up to you guys, which is nice. We actually just added a feature in there too, where you can tag a user from Sellercloud from a dropdown on a note, and it will actually show up on their little notifications bell inside of Sellercloud in case there's something that needs to be done additional inside of the system for that SKU or that return, that order. Can we add custom columns in Skustack? Yeah, custom columns can be added in Skustack. Custom columns, I mean, that's the nice part about Sellercloud and Skustack. It's pretty interchangeable in and of itself. They're built off of the same platform. So like if I had custom columns set up in my inventory section already, I can have those custom columns. It's going to be already inside of, say, the Skustack application as well. When leveraging order-based picking, would we be able to transfer the inventory to another bin? And when shipping in Shipbridge, scan the bin the order is in, essentially order-based picking and shipping, so that the order that needs to be shipped is what's being scanned. Yeah, so if you want, you can pick products out of the bins and you can add them into other bins. I mean, anytime you're picking a product out of a bin, it's actually added into what is called a picking bin, which is the user who's pulling the inventory off. And then that picking bin, if you wanted to, what's cool is you can, like I mentioned, you can convert bins into pallets. So if you wanted to, you can literally pick that entire picking bin and say, this is now one order and we're putting it on one big pallet or one big box, and go right from there. So yeah, if you want to, you can essentially pick the inventory into a bin and then go ahead and pick all of the products from that bin all in one foul swoop to go ahead and ship out once it's all been sorted together. Inventory pull. I got the same error he got with the first SKU he tried. It only works for kits. We want to pull regular SKUs. Yeah, I mean, when I was in there, it actually yelled at me because my product was a kit and it didn't want me to do it for kits. So are you looking to do it for a kit? I'm not really sure on that one, Alex, but I can touch base with you on that a little bit more later. Where can we view any inventory adjustments that have been made? So any type of inventory adjustments inside the system can be viewed in a number of different places. The easiest place, though, to look at any type of inventory adjustments is going to be in the detailed page, say, of like a SKU, if you wanted to, if you're looking at an individual SKU under inventory movement. We do track all of the movements in the system, whether it's POs being received in, orders coming out, returns being received, kits being assembled, FBA inbound shipments, or maybe a one-way adjustment if you received in a return and it was bad inventory that you couldn't restock. All this too, by the way, which is cool about these different adjustments, ties into the Skustack, or probably the Skustack Lens application. Lens tracks all of the movements also and all the adjustments so that you can have employee performance reports and a greater visibility on where and what's happening on the bin level in the warehouse. Piggybacking on my previous question here, would I be able to scan the bin and scan and ship and skip scanning the product since it was already scanned at picking and then just provide package weights and dimensions for the order? I mean, yeah, I mean, if you want, you can pick the whole bin at the same time. Is there a way to scan it? I mean, yeah, what I would recommend is just converting the bin into a whatchamacallit, a pallet, and then generating that pallet ID that you can scan for scan and ship. That pallet ID is kind of just like scanning a barcode, like for a SKU or something like that, or like a case barcode. So I would have to verify that it 100% works. Like I mentioned, the pallet side of things is a little bit new, but we could definitely give it a shot. Could the ready light green color be changed on Skublox? So you don't want it to be green when it's ready. You want it to be a different color. I believe that can be customized. I had our team one time create a Christmas tree out of Skublox lights. So I'd be surprised if it's not something that you could do pretty easily inside of the system. I'm not 100% sure how to do it. Otherwise, I'd show you on the demo, but definitely ask your account manager. And can you associate a bin with an order? Well, yeah, I mean, that's actually what's really a lot of times going on when you're looking at the pick lists. When I'm going to pick, it's giving me an associated bin to pick from for the order. Or if you're, and I'm not sure if this maybe is what you're looking for pick to light. There's another type of workflow within Skew Blocks where I can go ahead and actually, maybe I have a mobile cart with a totes, like 16 different totes on it, and I have an individual block on each of those totes. I can assign that block to an order. So as I'm picking the product off of the shelf, the actual tote is assigning from that SKU block for that order, and I can sort at the time that I'm picking all of these orders. That's actually one of the big things a lot of our customers have been recently doing and adding into, say, their whole SKU block side of things. We have a guy who did a testimonial actually recently. So if you go to our Sellercloud website, I'm not sure if they showed the warehouse, but it should be up on the Sellercloud webpage pretty soon under the testimonials. We just did like 5 or 6, and we had some really cool videos inside of the guys' warehouses too that show those mobile carts and everything like that, or like that tote bag, that wall. I've got a couple of photos and stuff like that too. So I'll ask one of the guys and I'll email you a photo, Caleb. All right, that's about as much time as I have, though, for today. I want to thank everybody for making the time to come to this webinar. I hope you had a great time. I hope you learned a ton as well. If you want to show this for anybody else on your team, go ahead and go to our webinars page on the Sellercloud website. Also, if you are interested in coming to our user conference, we do have a special discount code right now specific to the webinar. It's WMS, like Warehouse Management System 15, all capital letters, WMS 15. You'll get an additional 15% off the ticket, as well as we've extended the early bird promotion. So it's half off right now, an additional 15% with the actual code. Thank you very much again, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.